Everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Vincent Esposito. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't done it yet, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell. It means a lot, and that means we'll also be able to keep doing what we're doing here if you're liking the content. So today we are talking about stress. More importantly, we're talking about strategies to manage stress going forward. And that's going to be really important, especially if you happen to work or live in a high stress environment. Taking into account some of these strategies can really go a long way. But before we get to that, we're going to have to talk about the HPA axis, which actually controls kind of how we deal with stress in the body. So the HPA axis stands for hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal cortex axis. This is the system that creates cortisol, the main stress hormone. So how does it work? Starts in the hypothalamus, where we produce a hormone known as CRH. CRH triggers the anterior pituitary gland found in the brain to produce ACTH. The ACTH, once it gets in the bloodstream, triggers the adrenal cortex, which is found right above your kidneys, to produce cortisol. And cortisol is that stress hormone I referred to earlier. Now, stress is actually really good in acute situations. One of the things I bring up all the time is where back thousands of years ago, an acute stressor might have been something like getting chased by a saber-toothed tiger or something like that, where we see something, we really activate that fight or flight response very quickly, and it allows us to react appropriately. Now, the problem with stress is when these negative feedback loops don't work properly. When these are not functioning properly, we end up producing too much cortisol. So let's rewind a second. So once we reach a certain amount of cortisol in the bloodstream, these negative feedback loops should be triggered. And what they do is they stop the production of CRH and ACTH. And when these aren't produced, the adrenal cortex isn't being told to produce cortisol, which will eventually bring our stress levels back down to normal. Now, the problem is when we are exposed to low levels of stress or even high levels of stress for a long period of time, these negative feedback loops do not work properly. It is our goal to kind of regulate this system and bring it back to homeostasis so it's functioning normally. And there are a bunch of different ways you can do that, and we're going to talk about them now. So first is addressing work-life balance. This is one of the hardest ones for me. No doubt it's probably going to be one of the hardest ones for you guys as well at home. Americans work on average 43-hour weeks and tend to take really short amounts of vacation time for themselves. Actually, some of the healthier countries around the world, including a lot of Northern European countries, take as much as over a month off per year. And they tend to have some of the best health across the world. Next, treat yourself occasionally. Now, this just means you should be enjoying the things you do. Block out time for yourself to enjoy the things, whether it's a hobby or an activity you like, or just spending time outside, going for a walk. Maybe it's being by yourself, maybe it's spending time with friends. But make sure you are using that time to de-stress and create me time. That's going to go a long way. Next, if you haven't tried it, meditation is actually really great too. And you don't need to go through these like half-hour or 45-minute meditation periods where you're sitting cross-legged. No. Take 5 minutes either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day to just be by yourself, whether it's just sitting in bed or sitting on the floor or maybe outside if you have a porch. If you get outside, even better. Just take that time to just kind of get in tune with yourself and just appreciate what's around you. I think that's a great mechanism to help reduce stress. Find a creative side. So for me, I'll give you a little story about myself. I never cooked before I actually went away to chiropractic school. So that means I was about 22 before I ever picked up a pot or pan. And a big thing for me was I was able to teach myself how to cook. And I tried to make it a game and make it creative. Maybe try to make things in a certain amount of time or try new ingredients with recipes. That for me is my creative outlet. And it's a huge way for me to relieve stress, is actually being in the kitchen. And especially when I'm here, I have such a nice one for the first time. It's very exciting to use. But it could be other things for you. It could be maybe taking up painting or learning a new instrument. All of these things can go a long way into help reducing stress. Similarly, we're going to talk about finding new hobbies, exploring new hobbies. It could be cooking, it could be taking up that instrument, it could be trying a new activity you've never done before. Something that you can get wholly into, that you could focus on that one thing. That seems to help reduce stress in the long run. So if you're able to put your focus towards something else and block out kind of all the other voices in your head, that goes a long way. So find something that you can really get immersed into. That's going to go a long way. Focus on your breathing. So a lot of us, especially when we're in stressful situations, tend to be more chest breathers, meaning we breathe kind of through our rib cage and use a lot of our back muscles, maybe like our traps and our necks, and our shoulders kind of raise up a little bit. And you can see that leads to that tensed up kind of appearance. Ideally, when we're breathing, we should be breathing through our bellies. So you should actually be able to feel the expansion and contraction of your stomach, and that'll actually help engage the diaphragm, which is the muscle that controls breathing. So it's something to be aware of. So even if it's just, taking some time, we'll try it now. Just taking a deep breath in, feel that stomach expand, and then out through your mouth. Spending time outside. So whether you know this or not, about half of all, at least US adults, are vitamin D deficient. And vitamin D plays a huge role in gut health, immune system function. Deficiencies are associated with autoimmune diseases and things of that nature. So getting outside and getting the requisite amounts of vitamin D can play a huge role in reducing stress and improving your overall health. Now, especially here in the Northeast, getting outside in the winter months can be tough. Potentially supplementation could be used here, but getting outside is a huge way to relieve stress. Next, this is the big one, reducing how much you use social media. So whether you realize it or not, using social media is actually pretty stressful. We're going to talk about this again in the sleep section coming up next. But the blue light exposure, especially late at night, actually triggers the release of cortisol, which keeps us up and then affects our sleep. But we'll get back into that when we come back. But the other thing is, it's very tough to really get a gauge of what's going on in other people's lives when they're showing only the best parts of them on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok now. Wow, this video is going to date itself very quickly. But getting off those or just limiting how much you use them, you'll be able to appreciate what you have around you, and spending time with the people around you, as we're going to get to in the social part of this, is going to go a much longer way than scrolling through pictures on Instagram. Finally, last one today, prioritizing family time. Now, obviously all of us don't live with our families. They might live across the country or in a different country. That's pretty impossible to do. But we can all create our own families in a sense, whether it's spending just time with close friends for meals or making a ritual, certain get-togethers, maybe once a week or once a month. Spending time with those people kind of in your inner circle will really help you relieve stress, because it kind of helps build that ecosystem that a lot of these changes need to survive. We're going to cover that more in the psychosocial aspect again too. But prioritizing that family time and scheduling that in, taking the time to reach out to those closest to you and spending time with them will really help your overall stress levels going forward. So these are the strategies we're outlining today to deal with stress. Again, I would start with maybe one or two of these. Maybe you're already doing a couple of these. That's fantastic. Pick one or two, start with one, and then kind of build your way out. Again, this whole journey, it's a lifelong process, right? We're all trying to grow and get better over time. And these are just some places to get started. I know I'm still having trouble putting some of these into my own life. So I really hope you enjoyed spending time with me today. Really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button and notification bell, because I am coming out with these videos once or twice a week. You can get all our free recipes, and you can find our podcast, The Art of Eating, at evokehealth.com, evokhealth.com. And you can reach out to me. I'll leave my information below. And until next time, have a great day.